Today on Doomed! Memes, and more memes. That's the theme of today's episode of Doomed. You might have seen in the news lately that there's been a lot of talk of this very specific meme. The NPC meme. What does that stand for? What does it mean? What does it mean, I said? You believe that? What does it mean? Why has the right clung on to this? We will answer that question. All that and much, much more with my very special guest on today's show, who I will now introduce as the intro song comes to a close. Cecilia D'Anastasio. Did I say that right? I think I did not.
I think you did not. It's D'Anastasio.
D'Anastasio. What's funny is I specifically asked you before the show, and I was pretty close. And somehow I completely murdered it as we went.
Yeah,
live.
you backtracked, but
right.
I really appreciate you having me here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, thank you for joining us. And let me tell everyone where you're from, because I've completely ruined your intro.
Where I'm from?
Cecilia is a senior reporter at Kotaku and Special Projects Desk. Cecilia, thank you for joining us on the show today.
Thank you.
All right. I think well, I'm not going to pretend I saved it, but at least I completed your introduction.
Thank you. I'm glad that's over.
Right. Well, I'm very happy you are joining us, because I know you had some plans tonight, Call of Duty, and you are putting everything on hold to discuss this NPC meme with us. And you wrote this great article on it. In fact, you are the first person who I really saw talking about this, off of, someone who actually put together this whole thing and looked at it and analyzed it and discussed it off of just the message boards. How the NPC meme tries to dehumanize SJWs. So it's really, you're the perfect person to talk about this.
Yeah, it was a really interesting thing to stumble upon, and yeah, I could talk about it for days, but I won't. I don't want your viewers to suffer that much.
Well, the show does go a little bit long sometimes, so I don't know about days, but we have time to really flesh this out. So first of all, let's start here. What does NPC mean?
Yeah, so NPCs are those characters in video games who have scripted lines that they kind of just feed to you whenever you give them any sort of prompt. So you'll walk up to a character in Zelda and they might just say some canned line like, "Wow, the weather's really nice today." And it's a non-player character, so it's any character in a video game that is not operated by a human being. And the connotation of that in this context is basically just non-human.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're basically using this meme. Where did this meme come from? Because I was looking it up and Know Your Meme came up, and there's the NPC Wojak. Is that how you even say that?
Yes.
The feels guy. The feels guy. Everyone's seen the feels guy. And that seems to be where this all sort of came from.
Sort of. I love the origin story for the NPC meme because I think on a very overt level, it's pretty disgusting, but on a low-key level, I just think it's sort of relatable. If you've ever been a 12-year-old edgelord, which I don't know what your audience is like, but I definitely used to be a 12-year-old edgelord.
It's all 12-year-old edgelords. That's the entirety of the show. It's 12-year-old edgelords, and then
we grow up and become reasonable at some point. But
right.
A lot of these people didn't. In 2016, there was this really beautiful 4chan post where someone said, have you ever considered the idea that there's a finite number of souls in the world, but the population is ever expanding? So what if there are humans out there in the world that actually aren't human? They're sort of NPCs. They don't have souls, and they just sort of spit out these canned lines like, Beyonce is bae, and they say sports ball. And here's the interesting thing. Some of them would say things like Trump is Hitler. And the poster went on to talk about people who have sort of similar opinions, reactionary opinions, and sort of dismiss them as normies and NPCs. So that's where this came from. And if you can believe it or not, a few people dredged up a study in support of the "some people don't have souls" comment. It's like a totally bogus study, but people have been pointing that to me in my Twitter mentions for a few weeks now.
Right. I mean, I saw the basically the response you got from these very woke individuals who I just called them woke. I guess I should pull up the NPC meme and just put it over my face, which I do have handy. There we go. Everyone watching on YouTube can see the NPC meme now covering my face. There we go. So, it's basically and you mentioned this in your article, it seems like the right has latched onto this meme that they think is very original. I mean, the actual NPC meme taken out of the political context to actually talk about like the video game characters and maybe talk about just life in that way. Bring it from the video game world to the real world. It seems like it's sort of interesting if you want to look at it that way. But then the way the right is using it's almost like they believe that they've discovered the word, I should say, sheeple. Like,
I'm going to push back against what you said a little bit. I don't know why you're assuming that this is just the right or that people who are doing this have any sort of political affiliation.
No, right. That's true. So what you're saying is that it's basically just a combination of so it's not just the right, it's people who are trying to crap all over.
To trigger the libs.
Right.
Like, perhaps there are some people who are doing this who are part of the right, but one of the mistakes in the New York Times article covering this was just assuming that a lot of these people are Trump supporters, which is something you just don't know unless you do a rigorous poll of them or you talk to some of these people, which I didn't for my article. That would be a really interesting follow-up story for sure.
Right. But the thing is, a lot of these, a good amount of them, I don't know how many, but a significant portion sort of believe of these same people, like these 4chaners, believe that, whether or not they're out there with MAGA hats on, they believe they memed Trump into the presidency just by, pushing out these sort of, edgelord type, anti-SJW type image macros.
Yeah, I'm a reporter. I don't know what people think until I talk to them. I can tell you a little bit of like what the response was to my article, which was really funny. A lot of people made assumptions about me and my politics too. A lot of people just sort of assumed I was a socialist, which is something I've never written online. A lot of people were like, "Oh, you support this, you support that. You must be one of these people who fit into this category of SJWs." In fact, some accounts with an image of me, except with the NPC meme, showed up, and in the description, it was like, really boilerplate progressive stuff like femme, cis, queer, liberal, all of this stuff, and definitely I ascribed to some of those things. But it was just really interesting to see myself cast into the stereotype they have of progressive people. Right.
And you know what? I'm glad we've gone here because this is really interesting to me because this is sort of like, I guess having a Kotaku reporter on, it would be wrong of me to not go into the topic of ethics in video game journalism. But
do we have to?
But this is sort of what those type of people, the people who started, who were gamergaters, they see, I guess, a New York journalist working for what is now Gizmodo Media Group, and they assume that you are automatically some sort of partisan, political, probably even somehow involved with the planning or the strategy behind certain like left-wing talking points or campaigns or whatever. Just they assume these things, and I guess that sort of gives them the shaping in their mind of I guess who they're dealing with when they I guess they read a report by someone like you.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. And it's funny because a lot of these people like to cherry pick, like, oh, Cecilia, she wrote this story about, women on Twitch getting harassed. And she also wrote the story about, women who helped create Dungeons and Dragons. And it's like, it's true. I do write a lot of stories that focus on women, but I also write a lot about hacking. I write a shit ton about Overwatch, but people do like to cherry pick for sure. And I'm not going to say that they're wrong when they say that I'm some sort of really passionate feminist. But on the other hand, I think people are just very complicated, and online we tend to present one or two or three versions of ourselves.
Right. And so with the NPC meme, what sort of is, weird to me is that the idea of using that meme to trigger the social justice warriors. I mean, from the perspective of someone who's just like a video game fan and doesn't, and you want to let's just step away from political ideology and things like that. Gamers who, aren't of the alt-right leanings or the edgelord 4chan 8chan world, NPCs, there's plenty of NPC non-playable characters that are quite popular in the world of video games.
Mm-hmm.
Like to say that like those characters have some sort of they're soulless or have no sort of character or just mindless. Like, in fact, if you really want to like look into how these things sort of come from gaming culture, a lot of non-playable characters throughout like video game history, I guess you can say, have become so popular that they end up getting their own games.
I don't know if the popularity of the NPC really matters in this calculation. I think it's just the fact that people who are being called NPCs are just being totally dehumanized. One thing that was really funny I saw was an ex-World of Warcraft developer named Mark Curran got like really into the NPC meme. He's like super... he appears to be right-leaning. Yeah. I can't quite tell.
But I remember him from... He was a Gamergator back in the day. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that he said was he had this checklist of NPC qualities, and he would know, of course, because he helped make World of Warcraft. And he said they're incapable of independent thought. They want everything done for them. They constantly need coddling. And in parentheses, he said escort quests. And I think that's so funny. What I also think is funny is the Venn diagram of people who love the NPC meme and also ascribe to simulation theory. I think it's sort of funny that some people are actually like, what if this is literally the case and it's not actually just a metaphor? I think it's also kind of scary.
So could you go a little bit more into that? What is the simulation theory?
That we're living in a simulation.
Oh, right. So like sort of like the Matrix, I guess, or
yes.
Okay. Yeah. So it really does fit into their whole red pill thing.
Correct.
That's I mean, they really make sure all these worlds combine. They're at least they stay in the canon, right? I mean, they're sure.
Who's they? Which they are you talking
about? Right. I mean, like the that's true, because when I think of the NPC meme, I guess I'm really stuck in thinking about how it's sort of been weaponized, and not sort of like the people who are just using the NPC meme as sort of a funny meme, like a fun meme, like sort of really what I'm thinking about is these right-leaning sort of, they say it's just to trigger people, but they also sort of do, some of them sort of do believe these things, that they're above. That the SJWs or the leftists or the progressives they're going after are sort of just, I guess you can say, below them. They're of lesser mind or whatever.
Yeah, and it's interesting because if a lot of people come together and say, "Hey, climate change is real and it's super scary and we need to do something about it," if there's a big consensus about that, that's the sort of thing that might be painted as like, "Wow, all of you guys are NPCs because you believe this thing and are so passionate about it and keep having the same talking points about climate change." And that's really scary because a lot of the time when there's a consensus about something, barring like Ugg boots or, I don't know, a lot of pop music, like there's a consensus for a reason, which is that the thing is, right and or at least worth considering seriously. So the NPC meme, by immediately dismissing a lot of, commonly held beliefs and especially sort of progressive beliefs I just think it's really depressing, the fact that it's not going to be engaged with.
Right.
Also, is your doorbell going
My
off?
doorbell is going off. Give me 1 second to just shut it off because this is ridiculous.
Okay.
1 second.
Order some food.
All right.
There you go.
That's a first for the show, actually. So that was
Yeah,
fun.
but I also have been using the NPC meme a little bit myself. Like I'm obviously not doing it anyone's mentions on Twitter, and I'm not posting it on 4chan. But once I discovered it, I was like, this is really, really funny and like very widely applicable. And so my friends and I have started, joking about it when we're all hanging out. I think that a lot of the time when journalists write about something, there's some sort of conflation between this is an exemplary thing and that's why it's worth writing about versus this is really, really widespread and prevalent and it's a sort of trend article. And the NPC meme, I think by the time I was covering it was something that was a little bit exemplary and that was sort of special, and I was covering it by virtue of the fact that it was really strange. And I'm not sure it's right necessarily to paint it as something that's happening on as large a scale as the people who are harassing the writers writing about it want you to think it's happening at.
Right. I actually do think, I'm glad you brought that up, because I actually do think from reading some of the articles that came out after yours, it is sort of, listen, I get that it's some people are using this in a gross way. And I think, this show looks into, right-wing conspiracy and how the right uses the internet and how all sorts of different subgroups are using the internet in different ways to push whatever agenda they have. And that's sort of like one of the main themes of this show. We talk about many things though. But, I think a lot of those articles were sort of taking the meme and turning it into like some sort of, there was one that I said like, you mentioned in your title that it's being used to dehumanize SJWs, which is legitimate. Mm-hmm. But then I saw an article that took that and took it like a step further, saying how like, and you should really be worried about this, or this is dangerous or something. And like, I don't think it's, of course there's going to be probably a few individuals who may, if they are so online all the time and this is their life, you just look at these memes and talk to these people and there's nothing else, then yeah, I could see them actually maybe coming out of this with a warped view and thinking that, and actually believing it, like, the same way people believe in the simulation theory when they believe they've actually been red-pilled or whatever. But for the most part, it's not really like a dangerous thing. I mean, it's a meme.
Yeah, I think it's bad to dismiss people. I think it's a bad thing that just large swaths of beliefs are getting dismissed at face that are widely held in part because they're relatable to a lot of people. But I also think that, I don't know, like a lot of people have asked me like, well, do you think that someone is going to end up shooting up a school and saying something like these people were NPCs? And I think that's where a lot of people's minds went when this meme became very popular. And I don't have a response to that. I mean, these things are happening so often and it's in the forefront of our minds. And there are a lot of really ill people out there. So it would be strange to draw a connection between the NPC meme and some sort of really terrible IRL thing that happened, but I wouldn't totally dismiss it.
Right. No, I think there's sort of this weird, we're at this weird point in just our culture where, if you asked me a few years ago about about incels, I would straight up laugh because they were a joke. I mean, yeah, they existed, and yeah, some of them were sad, just like we're discussing now about the NPC meme. But if you were to tell me then that an incel was going to go ahead and murder people because he was an incel, I probably wouldn't have believed it. Maybe a year or two ago it would have been believable, but before that, when incels have been around, especially on Reddit, I've known about them for what, close to probably half a decade, if not longer. Same thing sort of like with this. Maybe now that I've seen it all, I guess I can say I wouldn't be surprised if someone did something horrible because of the NPC meme and believing it. but I believe we're not at that point yet. But again, who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, painting a meme is dangerous in this way, and maybe this is because I'm a bad reactionary gamer person, but like, it almost reminds me of the argument about violent video games and real life violence. And I always think that conversation is very interesting because, according to psychologists I talk to, if you're somebody who has violent impulses, then you are going to be interested in video games that do contain violence. And so it's one of those like chicken or egg situations.
Right.
And a lot of dehumanizing internet language is sort of like that too. Is it converting people into worse human beings who are less likely to express empathy? Like, I think that's really hard to say, but I do think that a lot of people who are weaponizing these memes against people on social media, like, probably already lack empathy.
Right. Yeah. There's definitely something more to it. Like, there are plenty of people who share this meme. Let's just bring up the video game example, actually, because it's a great point. A lot of people play violent video games. A lot.
Yeah, I love the new Call of Duty. It's really fun.
Right, and I'm keeping you from it right now. But does everyone who plays a violent video game, do they go out and act upon the violence? No, the vast majority do not. But at the same time, it can be said that, people with those tendencies who might not have acted on it before, maybe adding in violent video games sort of desensitizes them to it and will push them over that edge. But again, they needed to already have something else added. Like it wasn't just the violent video games. Mm-hmm. And so it's sort of it's the same for all this stuff, really. Will every Trump supporter act out on the president that they support, saying knock the shit out of them at protesters? No. Will some of them do? Yes. Is it just because the president said it? No, but he sure did help. It's a combination of a lot of things.
Yeah, exactly.
And I sort of, before we started, I sort of I brought up the fact that the right loves to say that the left can't meme. That's sort of like their call of, I don't know, their call to action or whatever. And I mentioned to you, and I feel bad now that I know how much you do enjoy a good meme or two. I said how memes are sort of like the lowest form of humor. Like,
I don't think that at all. I think memes can be one of the highest forms of humor, honestly.
I mean, really, what's really stunning to me about the NPC meme is like, and those who believe that it says something that the people who are NPCs are all these mindless people who can't think for themselves, but the people who are creating these memes, are something special. Like, memes to me are the lowest form of humor because they really are just stealing something that wasn't created, and they just maybe add a few things to it.
How does that differ from humor in any way, shape, or form that has existed before the internet?
Well, right, of course, but that's what a meme is. Like, let's look at the very people I'm talking about. Let's look at Pepe. Like, the Pepe meme is just this frog they didn't create. These right wingers didn't create their own. The guy who actually did, the creative mind behind Pepe, does not want them to use this character. They go ahead and use it, and it's basically just this character that they did not create, that they stole, just wearing a different hat, shaded a different color, his exact head cut out and put over someone else's body. It's like, and add on top of that these people who are very original and everyone else is just a mindless sheep repeating the same words over and over again. Their reaction to their very, very funny memes is, for pretty much all of them, top keck. I mean, it's like, are you guys listening to yourselves?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty superficial view of memes, though. Like, memes aren't just about the one Pepe. Memes are about the rare Pepes. Memes are about what you bring to them and the creative situations that you draw the memes into and the creative uses of them. I would argue that not a lot of Pepe memes are funny, and I don't personally like them at all. And I haven't enjoyed a lot of NPC memes, but I have enjoyed a few. Like, I don't know. I think a well-placed "you mad" can, like, do wonders and be really funny. But I think a lot of the people who do this just aren't that funny.
Right. That's the thing, though. Like, you enjoy good memes. Like, but there's so
I
many...
don't want to differ. There isn't I don't know about good meme versus bad meme. I'm just saying, like, there are clever uses of this stuff, and what makes memes so powerful is what people bring to them of themselves.
Well, good memes are funny, obviously. I mean, if it's not funny, then it's a pretty bad meme. I mean, that's really not what memes originally were, but that's sort of like the humor thing was just like memes can be funny when memes first became a thing, when but they sort of being funny is sort of part of being a meme now. Like if like any my parents could probably throw together one of those really serious memes with the text on top and the text on bottom that spread on YouTube. Not on YouTube, on Facebook, I should say. But, who really considers that a meme anymore? I would just call that like a Facebook-friendly like image macro or something. Like a meme to me, at least with how the internet has progressed at this point, it has to be funny. Or at least an attempt was made to be funny. And the fact is that while a good meme can be very funny, so many people are making memes, and the vast majority are just really bad.
Yeah, I would say that about jokes generally, though, too. I mean, a lot of people just aren't that funny. And
right, but
yeah,
at least...
I don't... Yeah, I'm not... I have never laughed at a Pepe meme, ever. Like, I just don't think... I don't think those are very funny at all.
Right.
But... Yeah, I've definitely laughed at some galaxy brain memes for sure. Or like a moth meme for sure.
But see, the galaxy brain meme is something that I consider, again, it's not a strictly leftist meme, but it's definitely something that people on the left use. I've never seen a right winger, or at least a prominent one, or any even prominent edgelord that just likes to mess with social justice warriors and progressives. I've never really seen the Galaxy Brain meme used by those guys. The Galaxy Brain meme is almost like, it'd be an interesting like maybe study to even do which like apolitical, memes that the basic template is apolitical, but is sort of been adopted mostly by a certain ideology or subgroup or subculture.
That would be interesting. I wonder if you're not seeing people on the right use that meme is a function of who you follow on social media also, because I have a few people in my feeds who definitely are more conservative, or at least like to trigger the libs, and I do see that meme from them sometimes. But again, like I don't follow a ton of people on that side of the political spectrum, so I just don't know.
Right, that's also part of it, I'm sure. But if I just and again, this is just my personal experience. This is just one person, but a lot of times the right likes to use memes. Again, and this is sort of where I feel like it's just funny seeing that ideology use the NPC meme. If I'm trying to own someone, I come up with some sort of original, witty comment. The right really loves to just throw a meme into their like upload a meme to their tweet and just hit send. Nothing really added to it. I mean, I'm sure you've noticed that from like when you receive comments from these guys yelling at you. A lot of times they'll just throw a meme in there and they think, job well done. That person has been prominently owned. Like, I've done it.
I don't know. I think people people tend to put effort in the sort of hate messages that they send me. Like one person who made an NPC meme of me, I was wearing this shirt my friend got me, and it's like sheer, but it's got sort of like leopard print on it. It's in my Twitter profile picture. But this person put the NPC meme on my face, but also to show that my skin was also gray, he made my arm gray, but drew the leopard spots by hand. And I thought that was like, obviously it was not a very funny meme, but the effort that went into it, I was like, wow, dude.
Right.
Dude.
A lot of time on their hands. Maybe they should use some of that time to actually think of something funny.
I don't know. I mean, I'm just not going to agree with you on this. Like, I use low effort memes all the time in conversation, and I shitpost constantly. Like, I just think that's the way that a lot of people talk these days, or maybe I just think that because I play Fortnite with like teens,
Right. No, but this is
this is how people talk, and it's all about like when and how you use these units of culture in in conversation with people and how they would react to that.
No, but like, really, I'm so glad that you specifically are on this show to talk about it, because it is a fascinating way to look at someone who, it sounds like you consider yourself to sort of be like an edgelord, and you're no, in some ways you like to at least take part in that culture a bit, no? Like, you like to shit post.
I report on video games, and I think that a lot of people who have my interest set, who like video games and who like anime and who like being online, participate in a culture of just being really, just being into memes.
Right, but see, that's interesting, because I definitely don't play as much video games as you, but I was once a very hardcore gamer and don't play as much as I used to. But the group of people I was with, we knew of the culture because we played online, but we never really, we thought it was sort of corny. Like we would go to like pro wrestling shows and punk rock shows and listen to our bands and everything, and after a show go home and play video games or whatever, and we'd maybe shit talk online, but we wouldn't really take part in, like, when we would hear like someone on like over the internet use edgelords love to use the F word for the LGBT community, the word faggot. And we were always like, that's lame, that's stupid, that's corny as hell.
Yeah, that's completely inappropriate.
Right, but that's sort of part of that culture. And like, I think there's like it's interesting to get the perspective of someone who's, you definitely are not that type of person who uses that word, but you are. No,
I'm not.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. Like, you're in that world, but you're not a Nazi. A lot of these people are bad, like, in terms of like that world, like the edgelord shitposting type, and it really permeates video game culture, I think. And that's sort of like, and it's not the majority at all, because I go to also like, Comic-Con and partake in like, it's probably not the most geeky thing in the world now. It's pretty mainstream, but geek culture is a big thing, but unfortunately, I think like this sort of toxic subculture within it has sort of taken over the taken the mic and is much louder than they are in numbers. And I really
don't think so. Like I play so many online multiplayer games, and the amount of toxicity I encounter in these games is so low, in part because game developers have caught on about ways to design out people acting that way.
Right.
Like, I think that the majority of games culture is actually pretty good, because games culture is just becoming increasingly mainstream. Like, everybody plays video games today. But like, I'm a woman playing Call of Duty, the new one that just came out, and no one's commented on my gender yet, and I've been playing for like a week.
Right.
That should probably say something to you.
Right. No, it's definitely.
I'm not saying things aren't bad, because I've definitely encountered a lot of bad, but I don't think it's correct to say that the majority of it is bad.
Oh no, I'm not saying it's the majority at all. What I'm saying is, and this is really, I think, where the issue is with, we're now talking about video games more broadly than the NPC meme, obviously. But I think what's happening is that, what is a gamer? Is it someone who picks up their iPhone and is addicted to playing, casual gaming? Someone who's the best at playing Candy Crush. They could beat anybody in it. Are they considered a gamer, a hardcore gamer? Exactly.
For sure.
You and me, we consider them gamers because we're not assholes. But there is this subsection who usually does identify, just because, it's a traditionalist value, as conservative, and they see that what they once considered as theirs no longer being just their thing. Mm-hmm. And because they're seeing the culture that they once owned transform to include people who aren't straight white males, they are this last bastion of this group are getting louder and louder as we see even in our broader politics,
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure.
And that's really what I'm saying when I'm saying about talking about the toxicity here. It's nowhere near the majority of people when you talk numbers, because gaming is so huge now.
Right.
But these people are so loud because they see that this is their little clique is dying out, and they feel like if they get loud, they can, and they could probably still bring in some young people who were before this time where the straight white male was dominating this universe. They can still bring in some of these young kids into their world, which will grow it a bit. And maybe if we all continue being loud, we could take back what's ours. Or maybe some of them even feel like they haven't lost it yet, so they're really feel like maybe they're the last line of defense in keeping it theirs.
Yeah, I wonder if that's true. I don't know. Like, I would love to talk to people who do think that way, just, as a journalist, because it's so hard to really fathom the psychology of it. It's just really difficult. It's all conjecture for the most part. Like, why would anybody behave that way? Like, definitely, if you look on Reddit, you'll see comments every now and then of people saying, like, now there are all these women playing our video games and they're destroying them because they're complaining about, the way that these female characters look. It's like, women have kind of always been playing video games, first of all. But second of all, it's like, I wonder how deep that goes. I wonder if people who think that way, really think about it.
Right. And what's interesting, I want to bring up another article you wrote. You covered, and I didn't mention this to you before because I wasn't going to bring it up, but we're going in that direction. I think it's the perfect sort of analogy. You covered that report that came out. I forgot the group. I'm sorry, because I don't have the article up. But you covered that report that came out that sort of showed visually, using, visualizing actual data, that sort of showed the connections between right-wing YouTubers.
Yeah, I interviewed the author of that report, Data in Society.
Right, thank you.
That was so fascinating.
And I really do think that's analogous here, because what's being proven, like there's data behind this, because white supremacists and the extreme right wing and the far right and alt right, these are things that have permeated society for decades. They go by different names. Nazis, racist skinheads throughout history, they've been all sorts of different names, but the ideology is there. So there's lots of data to go through. People know about this. It's not some sort of new phenomena. But adding in YouTube, we can now take a look sort of how this is affecting, the culture that's sprung out of the web. And what this data sees is that all these right-wing groups are interconnected. Right-wing YouTubers, I should say, are interconnected. They have each other on. They promote each other's videos. The audience is major overlap, and we're talking about an audience that's as mainstream as Joe Rogan, who's a commentator at the UFC, to Sargon of Akkad, who considers himself to be this classic liberal, which basically means that
doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, it's basically a nice way of saying I'm a right wing racist, but I don't want to call myself a right wing racist. But and what they're all really doing here is that these groups all intertwining are sort of becoming like a funnel for young people who come across their videos on YouTube, and they fall down this rabbit hole and get sucked in. Joe Rogan's got millions of subscribers. He's on television. He was before his MMA commentary career, and still he's known as a stand-up comic, very successful stand-up comic. He has on, Jordan Peterson, and a kid who's a fan of Joe Rogan because they watch the fights, they come across his stand-up, they listen to Joe Rogan's podcast, they hear Jordan Peterson. So they look into Jordan Peterson. They listen to Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson has a Sargon of Akkad on. Boom. Next thing you know, these kids are watching Sargon of Akkad. Sargon has a straight up white nationalist on. And boom, there we go. We fall down this rabbit hole. I really do think that's what we see with this sort of, edgelord, slash, I don't want to say video game culture because it's not like you say, it's not, I agree that it's not the same, but this culture is within the broader video game. This subculture is within this broader video game culture. And, so a kid goes on 4chan and listen, during the very early years of the internet, I was going on 4chan and I thought in the early 2000s or whatever, I thought what some of the stuff that was edgy and I probably wouldn't think was so cool now. I probably thought, oh, that's pretty funny. But even then you can say that, it was sort of, the ironic racism that they were doing while shitty, probably wasn't as directly related to their ideological beliefs as it is now. It was sort of just being assholes for the sake of being assholes to get a rise out of people. But what happened was that sort of funnel was created. People go to 4chan.
Yeah. And I think that what that study really highlighted is the extent to which YouTube as a platform creates an environment where people are rewarded for being increasingly extreme in their views, because people watch YouTube. No one goes to YouTube and says, I want to get indoctrinated today. Like, I would love to become a Nazi today. And wow, like, aren't there a ton of options for me to just get totally submerged in that ideology? Like, that's not a way people legitimately think. But YouTube is for entertainment, and people go to YouTube because they want to just, hear something really surprising. And that's part of why, InfoWars is so popular, because you're just like, what? How could you possibly think that? And and that, as people are increasingly making a living being on these very insecure platforms and making money off of ads and donations on their Patreon, they're incentivized, I think, to behave in a way that might be a little bit irresponsible to their audiences.
Right. No, I mean, really, it's that's exactly it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to keep you any longer from Call of Duty. I really appreciate you coming on and breaking down the NPC meme. And really, while the NPC meme is in the news now and it's a fascinating, current event, what I really wanted to do is bring you on to talk about, as a video game journalist who is also a gamer and in that. Involved in that culture. I think it was a fascinating look also at just where it's all going and where it's been and sort of what still needs to be done. I recently saw a study, just to end it with this, how video on the internet, just in pure data usage numbers, is something like 58% now of the data around the world is being consumed by people using, watching video. And video gaming was much smaller. It was something like, it was just in like the low double digits. And, but what that study saw was that it's rising in that consumption. And basically what the study comes down to is that what people are doing on the internet now is they're consuming video and they're consuming and they're playing video games. And then you combine that with Twitch streaming and all that. People like interacting online now visually. And I think what we see, bringing up that YouTube study and then bringing up our discussion right here, I think just the medium is going to become just a major part of where all of this, whether we're talking about politics, whether we're talking about, cultures like video game culture, I just think it's all just going to be intertwined in a way where certain people can ruin it and take it in places that, it isn't for the best. And it's just an interesting way to look at it and see what can be done to move it into that sort of positive direction. And also, I just want to say that memes are the lowest form of humor. That's where I would like to end this.
Well, I guess I don't have time to argue with you, but thank you so much for having me. This was really great.
Cecilia, and I can't believe it. I said your last name right to begin with, and I have it wrong now in my head. D'Anastasio, senior reporter at Kotaku and Special Projects Desk. I will have your Twitter account, and your article is already linked to where I posted all the show's information. Check out her article on the NPC meme. It's fantastic. She was the first to write about it. I want to make sure everyone knows that when they see all these NPC meme articles go up, Cecilia, enjoy Call of Duty.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
You too. Take care. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the show. Oh, that interview. I will be going through the comments now. But before that, I would like to remind you all to subscribe to the show on iTunes. Go to doomedpod.com, and I just burped. Luckily, I think it was off mic. That's why I have taken a break in cutting off the URL read. So let me try that again. doomedpod.com. Oh my God. I'm just out of it now. doomedpod.com. Subscribe on iTunes there. Orange Man Bad, I should say. That's some of the comments I'm receiving now to show that I'm an NPC. NPC. Let me pull that up again. Here I am. This is me. Well, no, that's the general NPC Wojak meme there. Let's turn me back into, there we go. That's me. Let me try to match up. All right. Orange Man Bad. There you go. If you're watching on YouTube, I just turned myself into the NPC meme. But no, really though, like I think actually that those people who call him President Cheeto or 45 or whatever, I think it's corny. It's corny. I mean, I don't think they're mindless drones. I think they've latched on to an unfunny joke that they're all repeating because they think it's funny, not because they've been brainwashed. I don't think it's funny. I also don't like people who use memes to sort of like a witty comeback. I don't think that's very funny for the most part. If you use a really funny meme that you sort of add some sort of originality to, go for it. But I'm generally not like your traditional meme. Like there are funny memes. Galaxy Brain can be funny. Current event memes, like pictures that become funny, and the photo when it first came out, sort of old now, but the pig poop balls one, that was funny when people were just owning the prominent, I mainly saw it like going after like anti-LGBT right wingers. That was funny for a while, but then there's a point where people realize it's not funny anymore. They consider that with their own mind, and they just don't post it as much. Pepe has been old for a while, but it's still being used on the right, and they all in unison use Top Kick, and they all like to, and this isn't strictly the 4chan grouping of these guys, but a lot of right wingers like to throw out logic and reason and ad hominem, and that's a straw man. They all love to say that. I can't even tell you how many times one of those pick and choose, one of those words have shown up as the single word or the single point replied to me on Twitter when I make, when I say something about a policy or something, or I jump into a debate with an argument. That's a straw man. Okay, go further into it. I like to use logic and reason. Okay, give me your reasoning. Go into this further. Explain yourself. And they don't. Because all they have are the buzzwords. Because, literally, they haven't fleshed out the thought. I don't think they're mindless, like non-human drones. But, it's funny seeing these people who just spit out talking points call other people mindless, non-humane drones who can't or incapable of original thought. That's really my point when I'm looking at this meme. No true Scotsman. Thank you. Non sequitur. Renee has given me some more here. Exactly. These are the buzzwords that are constantly thrown out by the right to these social justice warriors that they're attacking with this NPC meme now. And it's just, it's hilarious to me. It's hysterical. I find it to be very funny. And, the fact that this NPC meme is attacking those who are like, going orange man bad and Cheeto or whatever. I mean, that's not really the left. I mean, it's really more if you're to use a word that they use, normies. Like your average sort of like Democrat. I wouldn't consider them leftists. I wouldn't consider them on the left. I mean, just like I don't know what to, I guess they don't understand that because really the Republican Party, even the mainstream Republican Party, really does believe in the far-right ideology now. The only difference is the mainstream Republicans are still trained to use the dog whistle. I mean, I guess that's really what it comes down to. I mean, when I say the right, I know like Mitch McConnell's not using the NPC meme, but I know that Mitch McConnell is fine with the shit going on the far right being, buoyed by Donald Trump and the MAGA folks. As long as he gets his way, he's on board. He's cool with it. As long as he gets his Supreme Court justices and he's able to cut Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, why not? And, me personally, I think he's actually on board just period to begin with. Not even I scratch my back, they'll scratch yours, but I'll be generous here. It's, that's just really what I'm, that's how I view it. To me, it's just the same. I mean, yes, as Cecilia said, the NPC meme as its own, like taken out of this new weaponization of it by the right and, partisan, politically active 4chaners. It's a funny meme sometimes, depending on the usage of it. But I just really can't get over it being used by people who call everyone an SJW or a snowflake. They all call Donald Trump now. What is it again? It's on the tip of my tongue here. Well, they all use cuck. That's one of the things they all love to use. They all call Donald Trump God Emperor. That's not a groupthink. No, not at all. They just all individually think of that one. I mean, that's just human nature. Something's funny. You jump on top of it. You latch onto it. And if you're actually someone who is funny and creative and original, you'll use that as sort of like a jumping point. You'll use that sort of cultural event or product or thing, whatever it may be, and you'll remix it. You'll do something creative with it, make it your own. You'll change it so much that people won't even really realize that it's based on something else. All right, and that's really, that's sort of my point. I actually didn't realize I would go so much into, broader gaming culture with Cecilia. I thought we'd talk a little bit more about the NPC meme, which everything I just wanted to say there. But I'm really happy that we went the other direction because that was a really fascinating conversation. And again, as you guys probably know me, I know a lot of you have said you found me from the peak of Gamergate or whatever. That's sort of something I've been following for a while. And it's something that I think is still there. And we'll just keep covering it on this show. Let's go to the comments. Oh, how did I not plug the Patreon? Patreon.com/MattBinder. Guys, if you're watching this show or listening to the podcast, please subscribe to the Patreon. I haven't really pushed it. I haven't really promoted it. I'm not a self-promoter. I'm not really good at that. I'll post a link or two of the show. I'll post a link or two to an article I write. But I'm not really good at being one of the people who constantly tries to promote my work or raise money. So really, I just put up a Patreon for the hell of it, and whoever joined. I plug it once in a while on the show. Probably once an episode I'll mention it. But let's do this. If you enjoy this show, if you support this show and want to see more, because I actually want to do more than one episode a week. I would love to do more than one, but I'm really constrained by the time and work. And I actually, as a lot of you know, I do campaign work too. Ever since I worked on Cynthia Nixon's campaign, and ever since that, actually, I've been doing a few other campaigns since that has ended, and it would be fantastic if I was able to fit in an extra episode of this show because the Patreon allowed me to. And really, actually, a little secret between you and me, guys, to the dozens who listen on YouTube, and actually the thousands of you who listen each week on the podcast. I would like to actually do this show, move it to maybe even as much as a daily show, if we were able to, especially with the elections coming up. I mean, probably not for the midterms; it's way too soon. But if we were able to get something going by the time the 2020 elections were ramping up, and I was able to, I'd love to bring people on board to help out and everything, but I need Patreon help to do that. I feel dirty promoting myself already. And I would love to add even more, like produced non-live, but like edited, not just me speaking into a mic, edited videos like that Real Fake News series I did for Cafe when I was there. Love to be able to do those. That'd be great to do a few of those a month. Would love to be able to actually even put together a site. And if there was enough Patreon subscribers, bring people on board, even if it was like a freelance basis, like, people to, I know a lot of great people from, some people of you guys know from other podcasts or Twitter or wherever. Love to be able to get them to do original content, whether it be contributing to the show somehow, maybe even doing like setting up like a newsletter and doing like getting like original reports or opinions from people who don't really, have that Twitter platform but aren't, expounding on that or it's, I feel like everyone has their own medium and they're missing out on people who consume all the other mediums. And I'd love to be able to, and sort of I'd love to be able to bring that all together. So people who consume all the mediums are able to consume this sort of, really what we're doing here is progressive left-wing commentary. All factually based, obviously. This is all, I'm not just spitting out bullshit like I'm some sort of, right-wing Facebook clickbait. But, our opinion and commentary is from a leftist perspective here. Our being me, the individual Matt Binder. Don't know why I'm saying our. I guess I'm already thinking of that dreamlike scenario where there are multiple people working here. But, yeah. And that really fits into, again, let me make this call too. People who listen to other YouTube channels, other, smart, don't necessarily have to consider themselves to be leftist or progressive, but, smart commentary on current events. I'd love to, whether they have hundreds of thousands of subscribers or whether they have a few hundred or whatever, podcasts too. Send me your favorite podcasts. I would love to be able to sort of combat those right-wing networks from that study we were talking about earlier, and the same study we mentioned the last episode last week when speaking about white supremacists on YouTube. Let's be able to combat that well-connected right-wing, network with a network of our own, I really don't think the left has done a good job doing that. It's been a complete... We've handed YouTube to the right. It's that simple. And I don't know exactly how. I don't know the logistics of it yet, but it'd be great to just connect with these people. Your favorite progressive leftist YouTube commentators, streamers, whatever, and sort of figure out, maybe it's just as simple as promoting each other's stuff and jumping on each other's shows and doing guest spots and debating or whatever. But I think that's the way to do it. All right. I'm done with my dirty, disgusting self-promotion. Ugh. Oh, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're not watching YouTube right now, doomed.tv will take you right there. Subscribe. All right, let's go through the comments. There's going to be a lot. I'm not going to be able to get to it all, but Vispa said, I feel like I'm pretty well versed in memes, and I've never heard of this NPC meme. Well, it's a good thing you listen to the show then. That's what Doomed is here to do. We're on the cusp of breaking internet trends, especially when it comes to the right. Christine, the irony of the NPC meme is that they are like they describe. They are like they describe it. Exactly. Mishka, I just heard of it like yesterday. Excuse me, Renee. I've been with lowbrow sci-fi Pepe fans. Vispa says, I've been wondering how the new Call of Duty is. Mishka Hearts Zelda. Political troll. Meadowcur got doxxed. LOL. Who's that? Or maybe I missed something here. Vispa said, good evening to my doom and gloomies. I like that. A little bit corny, but I like it. Corny can be cute sometimes. That was cute. Jameson, what's up, doomers? Don't like that. What are we, in the late 90s? Is this a Budweiser commercial, Jameson? That's corny, not the cute kind. Renee, Doomlord. Vispa laughed at Doomlord. Clever. Not laugh out loud clever, but clever. Mishka, I actually know a girl who believes that there are a finite number of souls. It's just weird to me. I mean, I personally actually don't believe that at all. Right? Souls aren't a thing. They're just not a thing. I will tell you actually that the thing that pushed me, I remember I was raised Catholic. And I remember the thing that started my first time questioning religion was in 4th grade. The Monsignor came into our class to teach at the class for some sort of special class or whatever, special day of the class. And it was talking about people having souls. And then the priest said, there's a difference between human beings and God's other creatures, like animals, like, dogs and cats, is that animals like dogs and cats don't have souls. And that was it. That was bullshit to me. The idea that there would be a heaven and that we'd all be so happy there and have no problems. And when we die, everything would be great. The idea that that place would be void of any sort of animal, let alone my own pets who had passed, just seemed like utter bullshit to me. I don't want to be in that place. I'd rather there be nothing than to live for all eternity without my pets. And that's the first time I started questioning religion. And by the way, that Monsignor would later go on to being removed from the school and sent to some sketchy, unknown location upstate because he was being inappropriate with one of my classmates. That came out a couple of years after I graduated. So, yeah. Michka, recycling souls, reincarnation, basically, right? I guess that's what it is, right? Yeah, how else would you... Vispa, I feel like a majority of people who want to trigger libs are doing it from a right-wing standpoint. Yeah, that's the one area where I disagreed with Cecilia and sort of pushed back a bit. I think it's a little bit more political than she was getting at. But she also was coming at it with a different experience than me, which I was really happy she brought. Because that perspective was one I really wanted to get. Political troll. He was internet aristocrat, that guy? Me Too Cur, or however you say it. Fuck that guy. I'll have to check out what he's been up to. That's the guy that basically coined Gamergate. It was his videos about the original version of it when it was Five Guys Burger and Fries or whatever horrible, terrible, sexist bullshit they were pushing. His videos shown to Adam Baldwin of Firefly and Independence Day fame. And then Adam Baldwin tweeted out one of those videos and hashtagged it Gamergate, and that's where that all came from. That was the jump off. Sort of going from a sort of Chan-centric, misogynistic crap to the mainstream harassment campaign that it ended up turning out to be. And then I'm going to run past these comments because it's everyone talking about the doorbell. That was the Doomed first. Let me tell you guys what that was. So we ordered Peapod to be delivered today. And I specifically scheduled it to come between 4 and 6. I wasn't home, but other people were. And it was supposed to come then. And it didn't. I'm getting so angry, I'm choking myself. And so we waited. An hour passes. It's 7 o'clock. Another hour passes. It's close to 8 o'clock. So we call. He's going to show up sometime around 9:30, 10 o'clock. Oh, thanks for telling us. One thing. I'm doing a podcast tonight. So we rescheduled. Apparently, they forgot to tell the driver. And I got to tell you, whenever a package comes here, 99.999% of the time, package, delivery, whatever, they'll ring once. And if you don't pick up, if you don't run to that door and ring, they leave. You got to wait another day for your package. Apparently, I get the one Peapod driver today that decides he's going to keep ringing that damn doorbell until someone answers. Regardless of the fact that, maybe after like the third time I'm ringing that doorbell, someone's not going to show up when it's 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. I don't know what happened to it, the delivery. I basically got up real quick and I shut off I just turned off the doorbell because we have one of those like intercom doorbell systems because we're in an apartment, because we live in New York. And I guess it sounds like the doctor's office doorbell. Thank you, Jameson. JJM Hicks. Be boyfriend interested in other girl when with girlfriend was used on both sides. I just jumped into that conversation somewhere when I passed by all the doorbell comments. I'm sorry. Oh, let me plug this real fast. So, for Mashable today, where I work as my regular daytime job since July. I know I've promoted some of the articles I've written on the show before, but working with Josh Russell, who's on Twitter as a great resource, who uncovers a lot of Twitter bots, something I also like to do, but he's really analytical about it, which makes it a great help that he was able to jump on the phone with me to talk about this. And I already discussed with him. He's going to be coming on the show probably next week, maybe the week after. I'll let you guys know to talk about Twitter bots and fake news. But so just today, article wrote for Mashable went up. about a pro-Saudi troll farm. And basically it was pushing out tweets and hashtags that in Arabic were saying nice things about the Saudi crown prince. And this is all to distract from the disappearance and really what's looking like murder of the Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. And excuse me if I'm messing up that name. I've heard it a million times on TV, yet somehow I'm sitting here right now still in another zone, and I might be messing up the name. I'm really bad with names today on this episode. It's a running theme. And so some people were realizing not Jamal, that's the Saudi journalist, Josh Russell, one of the people who was looking into this, and I jumped on the phone with him and he showed me some of his data, and a really interesting thing was happening. Now, just a few accounts were actually tweeting out the original tweets, and then these were being mass retweeted by political Twitter bots, obviously set up to retweet this stuff, to push it. And it started a trend, mostly as a local countrywide trend in Saudi Arabia. But then what would happen was spam bots would notice the trend and they would jump onto it. They would latch onto that trending topic so that their spam would be at the top of the feeds when you would say, hey, what's this trending topic? And click it to see what was going on. And those spam bot networks would be enough to then push that trending topic over the edge. And that boost would bring it, would give it the legs to move it from a countrywide trend in Saudi Arabia to a worldwide trend. So what you would have were these health supplement spam bots pushing erectile dysfunction pills and weight loss regimens, really serving, a Saudi Arabian propaganda campaign by the Saudi regime. And this stuff would then trend on Twitter. And excuse me if you just heard my stomach growl. It was a stunning look. You could read more about it at Mashable. I'm going to have Josh Russell on to talk about that and much, much more bot related. And there's that. That's my one plug for my writing work of this episode. Let's go back to the comments. Just a few more before I call it a show. Vispa says, I hate Fortnite. I do not understand the popularity. I have played it with my brother. I think it's a fun game. He's more of the gamer now. I used to be a hardcore gamer, in terms of playing video games all the time, really immersing myself in whatever the storyline was for the particular games I really liked. When I was in elementary school, I was really a gamer to geek in terms of I was writing scripts based on Mortal Kombat lore that went well beyond the games, that went into any novels, the fictional novels that were written, or the things that weren't canon or whatever. And not just in Mortal Kombat. Final Fantasy VII was big when I was a big gamer with friends. I remember spending literally full entire weekends, week-long winter breaks trying to beat Shadows of the Empire for Nintendo 64 with my friends. And then, life gets in the way. You don't game as much as you used to. It's true what they say. You say when you're younger, I'm always going to be a gamer. I'm always going to find time to play video games. Try it when you have a kid and you got to work a full-time job and you have bills to pay. Still able to fit in the games, but instead of hours a day, maybe you fit in an hour or two every couple of days, or every week, or every couple of weeks even. But Fortnite's fun. I actually agree that I don't get the whole, for it being a fun game, I personally like Gears of War better in terms of gaming mechanics. I think that is a really fun, addictive game. Fortnite's good. It's fun. I don't get what pushes it over that edge popularity-wise, other than it being free, like completely 100% free to play for the entire game. And you don't have to pay to play to get extra, like, you know, weaponry or boost your stats. Any sort of additional in-game pay-for content is just like for visual egotistical visual reasons, like to wear special outfits that add nothing to your abilities, to actually win the game, or to unlock dance moves that your character can do to sort of taunt people. But again, they do nothing to boost your aim or anything like that, or your accuracy or anything like that. Renee says, gotta get Matt a bird. What? Renee also says, I was married to the co-writer of that video game dependency paper. What? 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 Strawman Akkad says, punch Nazis. Nazis make me so angry. Censorship is simply controlling bad behavior. Hail to the mods. I can't tell where this is going, but okay. And then Strawman Akkad got into a conversation with Renee, which I'm going to pass by here. Oh, man. A lot of comments today. Blue24, orange-faced men, baby, with the NPC reference there. Renee says, Winamp is coming back. Indeed it is. Steven Adario says, I checked on the _Donald Reddit. There was a thread where the Trumpies are warning about people on Twitter catfishing their NPC Twitter accounts to get their personal info, plus 5,000 upvotes. Progressive atheist, I finally Googled NPC last night after being called NPC for about the 10th time in the past week. Mishka says, or Misha, I should say, I just Googled it yesterday too. Steven says, these people think Democrats, Hillary supporters, Antifa, Social Democrats, Socialists, and commies are all the exact same thing. Yes, and we've mentioned that in this show many times before, absolutely. Steven says, did you see that Sargon wants to make Gamergate 2.0 and officially win Gamergate by making a petition for Donald Trump to say that Gamergate did nothing wrong? I did see that. We're going to have to talk about that more on another episode. As well as I should say, some of the other topics from the last episode I said I was going to bring up in this episode, which I didn't. Like my Andrew Cuomo blue wave, progressive wave spiel that I want to talk about. We'll have to save that. And speaking of which, good segue here. Thank you, Renee. Gotta make a Cynthia Nixon Princess Peach meme. Nah. See, Cynthia Nixon is she's not the Princess Peach damsel there. I still can't believe, and I was talking about it with my girlfriend the other day. Really more like fiance the other day. Looking back at the Princess Peach game that was made for the DS, at the time, she was really into it, and she was like, "This is cool. Princess Peach gets her own game." And I'm sure we had this opinion then, but looking back now, as even more time has passed, and as we're even older than we were then, the idea that her superpower was throwing a tantrum, like, what the hell was that? I don't know why I censored myself. What the fuck was that? We'll talk more about that too. It's got not enough time in an episode, which is why we need to to expand the number of episodes we do on the show. Steven says Sargon is delusional and thinks his audience holds some kind of untapped political power. Renee bringing up what Trump has done this week. Horseface and Pocahontas is more his speed. Sargon thinks received speech accent gives him a gravitas among American listeners. It sort of did for a while, actually. Not to that level, though. Absolutely not. Vispa says if Trump came out and said Gamergate did nothing wrong or something like it, 99% of Americans would be like, cue MR sound clip. What are you talking about? Right? That's good old Mila. Is that her name? Oh my God, I'm having a mental block. I can't even think about that right now. That's Sam's kid, right? Oh my God. Mila, right? Oh my God. What's wrong with me now? That's how you know it's late. That's how you know the show's ending for this episode. The end is near here. My dad says this half of your parents is asking you to show me how to make that meme with capital letters on the top and bottom of the pic. There you go. I guess I should have interjected there and added the addendum that my parents not included. And then, of course, my dad would ask how to make that meme. That is very much a plus 55 Facebook parents and grandparents type meme. Sorry, Dad, but that's... And then Vispa asks, are you Matt's dad? And then my dad goes, yes, indeed, very proud. And then Vispa says, awesome, he's a great guy, I love his show. Maybe we could extend this episode a little bit longer. Say more good things about me, guys. Even though the other half of that conversation is literally my father. Progressive Atheist says, what's a Peapod? It's like a Fresh Direct, but it's Stop and Shop's version. What's a Stop and Shop? It's a grocery store. Why do you get your groceries delivered? Because it's a thing here in New York. Because there's not enough grocery stores around. Alan says, heard your shout out to Kennedy and 10-Foot Man on MR today. He's talking to someone in the comments. My own dad's not talking about me right now. Nor should he when he's allowed to talk about things that are not me. That's true too. Renee says, got a game with Matt Leck. Yes, I do. Vispa says, the Mario Kart MR sound drops were perfect. Renee says, Princess Passive Speech. They're using Mario sound drops on MR now? That's bull. Sam has no idea what that is. Come on. It's making that show way too hip. It's got to stay in line with Sam always being just a little bit behind and Michael also being behind. Very odd for someone in his age group. And yes, a Matt Binder type, which would be a Matt Leck, or I'm assuming even a Jamie Peck. Sort of giving them updates. But the funny thing being that the main people of the show are completely still clueless to those sort of things. And the Matt Binders, Matt Leck, Jamie Pecks, Brendan, I don't know Brendan's last name, if he's also a young, hip individual, them just sort of face-palming and being like, ugh, hopeless. You can't change that dynamic on Majority Report. Come on. Renee says Matt needs to talk in a Dick Van Dyke Cockney accent. Maybe I do. The Progressive Atheist asks, and I guess you're talking about me, why did he leave MR? Basically, my kid was born. I needed more money. And Blake Zeff, who was the political editor over at Salon, just got this really cool gig as the editor-in-chief of a brand new political website that was doing something that I thought was cool at the time, and still thought the original idea, I still think the original idea behind it was really cool. Was able to start cafe.com, which was to spread political news using comedy and humor in online though, sort of like I guess how he was pitching it was like a daily throughout the day sort of comedy show like The Daily Show or Last Week Tonight. And I took the opportunity. Sam was sad to see me go. That was it. I was sad to leave the Majority Report. I'm still sad about leaving the Majority Report. Don't regret going to Cafe and working with Blake, who, along with Sam, those two were fantastic. Some of my best, the best people I've ever worked for. But, yeah, definitely, as you all know in my previous rants, should have stayed that extra year. Left the Majority Report just a little bit too soon. Missed that 2016 bump. Missed the Cernovich getting Sam fired bump. Vespa says, haha, Matt Binder, Matt Leck was behind the Mario Kart drops. That's fine as long as Sam and Michael still react with utter confusion when it happens. The second they are in on it, then I think Majority Report has lost that sort of little special character about it. Theo says it's Brendan Finn, but no, not super hip. Vespa says, I never knew why he left. I'm glad to hear the story. Renee says, well, that Alex Jones video parody was hilarious with the Hanna-Barbera sounds. I mean, speaking of Hanna-Barbera, actually, and I had thought about this but never mentioned it earlier in the thing. An NPC meme, a lot of right-wing memes in general, actually, sort of like Hanna-Barbera cartoon backgrounds. Just used over and over again. Just copied and pasted. That's sort of... It's funny you mentioned Hanna-Barbera because I was actually thinking about Hanna-Barbera literally right before we went on air for the show. And the final comment of the show. Steven, they started the drops when Sam wasn't home. And I'll add one more here from Vespa. Michael totally was young, hip Michael about it. Yep, that's true. Yeah, Michael's always on the cusp of what's trendy when it comes to like the internet. When it comes to like hip hop culture and that stuff surrounding that, I'll give Michael credit. Probably, well, not probably, definitely that's sort of his scene. Knows more than me. You guys know me. I'm more of like the punk rock subculture, hardcore, New York hardcore, even like pop punk and emo and that type of stuff. Much more my scene. But, all right. Sean Zone, thanks for the show. No, guys, thank you. DoomedPod.com, Doomed.tv, Patreon.com/MattBinder, Twitter.com/MattBinder. Subscribe on iTunes. Leave a review. Please leave a review. No one left a review for like a whole month after getting like multiple reviews a week. Sort of lonely on iTunes now when it comes to the reviews. Tears falling down my eye. All right, guys. Take care. See you all next time. On Doomed. Have a great night, my Doom and Doomies, says Vespa. I'll throw that in there. I like that. Again, corny, but cute.